I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 22nd. These grass yearlings are still hot, guys. Of course they should be. Everybody's still looking for them, but they are showing up in some big sales in the Northern Plains still. I know we had a bunch of big specials there a couple of weeks ago and saw some monster prices, but we're seeing them again this week. Not maybe some of the sales you hear about all the time, but some other ones that are just as good and have cattle that are just as good. But we got some good news with the cattle on feed report estimates coming out, and not as scary as what everybody thought. And I don't know why we had some reports there of some monster numbers coming out there, but actually these we can kind of deal with. We know that we had a big calf crop there last time a year ago. We know there's a lot of cattle on feed, and we know it's been dry around, but we can handle it. The on feed numbers as of 1st of August, 104.4. That doesn't scare you too bad. The placements is what some people were fearful about, but the placement number is only 105.5. We can handle that. And marketing's 104.9, so that's good. That's helping out. But you know, I don't even know if your placements are going to be that big, because you know, everybody thinks that they're monster placements because it was so dry. Most of that dryness was in cow country, not yearling country. I know there's some places, of course, everywhere there's some yearlings turned out, but you look at the worst of the dry is north of the river in Missouri and southern Iowa over there, some places going off into Nebraska there. But a lot of those places are cow-calf places. Okay, they brought those in, and they ended up, most of those cows going to slaughter because there was nobody around in the local area that had any more grazing than the guys that were selling them. So a lot of those did go on to slaughter, bred cows, and they split some real light calves off of them and sold the cows there. And then that's just going to make our markets have more potential as we look out on the horizon and going up. But we don't have a whole lot of things to be scared about right now. You know, the market has been pretty good all spring and summer, and we've been staring at the face of these big numbers of market ready supply cattle. We've gotten through the lion's share of those. We're on the downhill slide for sure. The board's going to know that, so the board's going to start ramping up. They're going to be out in front with improved markets, and then your cash is going to follow up right behind that. And I think we've got a lot to be bullish about, and a lot of things to be thankful for, and not a lot of things to really be too scared about, as long as we make it through this cattle on feed report. But now we see those numbers that come out, and they're not all that scary either. But let's look at the board for Tuesday. October live cattle was up 2 cents. The end of the day at 110.47. Your August spot live cattle up 20 cents at 109.27. So that's not too bad. October feeder cattle down 35 at 150.92, and your spot August feeder cattle contract down 45 cents at 149.17. Your fats, we haven't seen anything. You know, there's no way to tell. If the board continues supportive, maybe we can hold the ground from last week, or maybe gain $1. But you've had a few weak sisters in Iowa sell a few hundred cattle at 172, which would be lower. But then you had a whole 20 head Nebraska sell at 173, and that's just par with what they had last week on the bulk. But Fed Cattle Exchange don't have enough cattle to really fool with on Wednesday morning sales, so won't learn anything by that. Box beef cutout values just kind of holding their own here and carrying through a little bit longer than what we thought, even though we're pretty much past the Labor Day purchasing, but still holding their own. But choice cuts down just 41 cents on Tuesday afternoon at 213.57. Selects up 179 at 204.08. Still seeing a pretty wide spread there, $9.50 on choice select spread, and kind of growing with with more attention being shown on some of those rib primals, and when you get to a good market on those, they're definitely going to want more choice of that, so it spreads it out, and that all goes to grilling. But slaughter, they keep talking about some plants going to be dark this week. Well, so far we're right on par with last week, and last week was giant, so evidently we haven't got to the days of the week that they're going to be dark or closed. But 237,000 so far this week. That's the same as last week and 2,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about some feeder cattle markets. A real-time index, 149.21. That's pretty good, up $1.27, and that's on Tuesday's sales, guys. With some of those big sales coming in from the northern plains, with those good grass yearlings on there, boosting things up. And if you looked at that 149.21 compared to the latest available CME, which was 149.43, they closed back up tight again. After that kind of disparage they was running from those big specials, the last specials they had in the northern plains, which overinflated that CME index. But look at Superior Livestock Auction on the video. Had a big video this week, the Bighorn Classic, and of course they're going to have some stick out sales on there, a few program cattle on there, stick out sales. But I like to see the stick out sales that aren't program cattle. And if you look at a big slug of them, though, that's what helps sell them more than anything. But the Sunset cattle there at Hugo, Colorado, 1,200 head of feeder steers, weigh 850 pounds on the base weight for September delivery. Purchased cattle, put together cattle, but the good kind, but they're just commodity cattle. Not a lot of bells and whistles to them, other than they're just straight green grass cattle. And there's a lot of them, but 1,200 head, 850 pounds at 155.10, and that's a ton. But let's look at some on-site sales. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, just 1,500 head of calves. Higher undertow noted, but really hard to tell what the market was. Loop City, Nebraska had their barbecue special on Tuesday and Customer Appreciation Day. It was right on DV Auction at 2,850 head. And look at the strings that they had on here on Cattle Market Central. You can see all the strings of cattle. At least load lots are bigger, and some bigger strings on there. Talked to some guys that were there. My friend Lee was looking and said it was a who's who of buyers there, and all the order buyers there, and a lot of the local farmer feeders were in attendance. Did note that the calves sold well. The good green yearling sold well. They did have some backgrounded loads of cattle on there that didn't light up the scoreboard quite as much, but that's just typical as we're starting to get to the end of the grass cattle. But guys will really go out and bump those up. But let's look at some calves out of Loop City. Included in this, 59 steer calves weighed 540 pounds at 188.50. And look at some heifers on there. They are spayed, and that's not noted, but spayed heifers, 57 head of those, weigh 881 pounds at 141.75, weighing close to 900 pounds on a heifer. Don't miss Creston, Iowa. They're having a big barbecue special on Customer Appreciation Day here on Wednesday. So that'll be a good test of the market too. Tom Fry and family up there are just great people, and he's a prince of a guy. And be sure and help them out if you can. But let's look at some other individual quotes. Another sale in South Central Nebraska. Alma, Nebraska had a big sale up there. Was actually going to try to be up there to do a little speaking engagement, but it didn't work out. But had a heck of a sale there at Alma. 180 head of big steers, weighed 892 pounds at 154. Look at some light calves at Winter Livestock in La Junta, Colorado. 60 head of little peewee steer calves, weigh 366 at $228. There you go, it's a pretty good test there. And way up and over in Imperial, Nebraska, 243 head of steers, weigh 851 at 158. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.